All right, let's talk about AI. We are just completely obsessed with what it can do, right? It can write your emails, make incredible art, even help diagnose diseases. But here's the thing. While we're staring at the shiny new tool, we're missing the real story, the much, much bigger story of how AI is changing the entire system we live and work in.
And to really get this, we've got to go back a bit. Picture this. It's the spring of 2021. And Singapore, well, Singapore is basically the poster child for handling the pandemic. They had these super tight borders, this nearly flawless contact tracing app. They were the envy of the world. And then everything started to go wrong.
Suddenly, there's this surge in cases, and it's not because the technology failed. Nope, the virus was spreading through this hidden social system, a world the tech couldn't even see. It was moving through these private KTV lounges carried by hostesses, or butterflies, who moved between rooms, serving high-profile clients who, you guessed it, really didn't want to be on any contact tracing list.
And that right there, that's the whole point. The story of Singapore is the perfect metaphor for how we're thinking about AI. We are so laser-focused on building perfect, flawless technology, but we keep forgetting that it has to operate in the real world, a world that's messy, unpredictable, and very, very human. So to understand the massive shift that AI is bringing, we actually have to look back, way back. And the answer, believe it or not, lies in a surprisingly low-tech invention, a plain old metal box.
Think about global shipping before the container. The biggest problem wasn't how fast a ship could go. It was the chaos on the docks, the unreliability. Goods would just sit there for days, waiting to be loaded or unloaded, piece by piece. The container's real magic wasn't just automating that work. It was something way more powerful. It was about coordination.
And this is such a perfect example, right? The container basically forced everyone, ships, trucks, trains, to speak the same language. It created this predictable, global system. And that completely reshuffled the world economy. It's how a tiny island like Singapore became a global powerhouse, not by having the fastest ships, but by becoming the best at coordinating everything.
And here's the big takeaway from all that. The real power of a new technology isn't just the task it automates. It's the new, previously unimaginable level of coordination it unlocks across the entire system. That's the game changer.
Okay, so a 70-year-old metal box. What on earth does that have to do with cutting-edge AI? Well, it turns out, everything. The shipping container was a technology of coordination for physical stuff. AI, it's doing the exact same thing for knowledge and information. It's the new coordination layer for our entire economy.
But here's the problem. Most of us are looking at this all wrong. We're stuck in what you could call a task-centric view. We're asking, will AI take a typist's job? The better question, the system-centric one, is, wait a minute, why did the typist's job even exist in the first place?
Let's think about that typist. Their role wasn't really just about the physical act of typing. The whole job, the whole workflow around them existed because of a massive system constraint. With a typewriter, fixing a mistake was a huge, expensive pain. The entire system was built to manage that cost.
Then along comes the word processor. And it didn't just make typing faster. It did something far more profound. It collapsed the cost of making a mistake down to basically zero. And when that constraint disappeared, poof, the entire reason for the specialized job of a typist just vanished. The task of typing is still here, but the job of typist is gone.
This is a classic case of what's known as the Maginot Line fallacy. You see, before World War II, France built this incredible, impenetrable line of fortifications. It was a technological marvel, an absolutely perfect defense system for the last war they fought. But Germany, they didn't even try to break through it. They just went around it. And how? It wasn't because they had better tanks. It was because they had a better system, the Blitzkrieg. They used two-way radios to coordinate tanks, planes, and infantry in a way no one had ever seen before. A new system of coordination made the old defense completely irrelevant. And that's the big lesson here. When the underlying system changes, what used to be your greatest strength can become totally useless overnight. Value doesn't just get automated, it moves, it migrates. So if AI is our new two-way radio, then the most important question we can ask ourselves is this: where is value moving right now? Okay, think about a sommelier, a wine expert. With Google in our pockets, you'd think their job based on knowing things would be obsolete, right? But it's not. In fact, their value has actually grown. Why? Because the system's problem changed.
The bottleneck isn't scarce information anymore. It's the overwhelming abundance of choice. The sommelier's role migrated from being an info provider to a trusted guide who helps you feel confident in your decision.
We are seeing this exact same reshuffle play out in real time in the tech world. Facebook built a giant empire on the social graph, on who you know. That was their fortress, their Maginot Line. But then TikTok came along and basically ignored all of that. It built a new system based on a behavior graph, an AI that just gets you based on what you watch. It made the old moat almost irrelevant.
And this is such a key difference. The old guard tried to use AI as a tool to make their old system a little better. TikTok used AI as the engine to invent a completely new game, a system built from the ground up around this new logic of coordination.
So, how do you win in this new world? You have to stop asking for an AI strategy to optimize what you already do. That's thinking like the French generals. Instead, you have to ask a totally different set of questions. What new system is AI making possible? What are the new problems, the new bottlenecks in that system? Because solving those problems is where all the new value is going to be created. Look, at the end of the day, we have to stop seeing AI as just another productivity hack. It's not a better word processor. We need to see it for what it truly is, the architect of a whole new economic reality. The deck's being reshuffled right now, as we speak, whether we like it or not. So the question for all of us is this. Are you just trying to play your old hand a little bit better? Or are you trying to figure out the rules of the new game? Because I'll tell you this, the winners of this reshuffle aren't going to be the ones with the flashiest tools. They'll be the ones who understand the new system first.
Food processing companies can fund their growth using the cash accounts receivable factoring can provide. Contact Chris at Versant Funding to learn if your client is a factoring fit. Factoring can meet the cash needs of staffing companies looking to expand. Contact Chris at Versant Funding to learn if your staffing client is a factoring fit.